You may have played poker, but playing poker in Texas is a different animal. This is the Texas Poker Podcast with Tyler and Clint.
Hello, this is the Texas Poker Podcast. I'm Tyler. This is Clint.
What's up, y'all?
And we are back with episode 27.
Episode 27. So, what you been up to, man? How you been running?
Man, I talked about how last week I ended up having an unprofitable session, but only being able to play one session that week. Man, I played more sessions, but same results. We'll get into some. I played even a little bit of PLO trying to get out of it, but that's how desperate things got.
It's funny how like our graphs are mimicking each other quite a bit right now. Because we were both on an upswing for quite a while, and like we were kind of talking about it and like how often is it that we're both on an upswing? Usually you're running good and I'm running bad, or I'm running good, you're running bad. But in the minute like one upswing ended, the other one did, and it seems like things have just just falling off right off. After my Vegas trip, right off a cliff.
That's true. But so I guess I'll tell you a little bit about some of the sessions that I played and how I ended up playing even some PLO. But so I went to 88 again, right? And I was playing a session and things started off good. I was playing pretty tight, and I got the Ace King versus Jacks all in pre-flop for a buy-in, so that was nice. I ended up spiking the ace.
Always nice when you can win a coin flip.
Not great when that's your only winning hand, though.
Yeah, that's not a problem, especially if that's at the beginning of the session. Not great.
Yeah, my skill was winning that coin flip that session. Other than that, I didn't play that great.
Man, okay. Our drafts are mimic each other, and so does our plot.
So I ended up winning that coin flip, and then it was a very strange session because it was like I didn't have any big hands that I lost. I just kind of got chipped away over and over and over again by just missing flops, seeing a turn, missing the turn, having to fold, and eventually all my money was gone.
Really, in all honesty, that's what will do it a lot of times, at least for me. Like, it's not like one big hand, but if you just miss flop after flop after flop, God almighty. And then, like, it gets in my head and I get stupid with it, too. Then, once I've missed 6 flops in a row, all of a sudden top pair, I'm playing that shit like it's the nuts.
Well, okay, here's a hand that you can tell me, is it super nitty, or do you think it was a good fold?
Okay.
So I have 4-5 suited, right? Someone raises pre-flop. I'm the only caller. It's heads up.
Okay.
The flop comes 5-5 queen with 2 spades and a diamond. I have 4-5 of hearts, so I flop trips.
Okay, beautiful.
The turn. So he bets small. I call.
And there's a flush draw out there?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
But I didn't want to raise yet. That might have been my fault.
I don't really hate this. This is fine. Not only does one, you don't know that he's on a flush draw, and he has to be on a flush draw and for it to hit. So I don't really mind a call here.
So the turn brings I think it was the 8 of hearts, so it was pretty unrelated.
Okay.
And then he bets. It wasn't full pot. It was just under pot. So I made the call, and I still haven't raised yet. I was like, I'm going to raise on the river. Yeah, I know.
At this point, yeah, I think it's time to either put a queen to the test, or, if he does. Here's the thing, is once he has that turn, a lot of people just c-bet the flop, but once he bets the turn, you got to start putting him on something.
Oh, sorry. It was not a unrelated heart. It was the 10 of hearts. Yeah, this was the big error in the hand. So the board was 5-5 queen 10 2 spades. So it's starting to straighten out, and there's still a flush draw. And then I still only called.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, and then the river brings the jack of spades. So it brings the front door flush, and the board is 10 jack queen 5-5. And then he bets like 2.5x pot. It was pretty big. It was like 850, I think.
I mean, here's the problem: is your hand is so underrepresented here. I mean, I don't know here. Okay, I mean, so we're looking at Ace King making a straight, but it'd be kind of weird for Ace King to take this line.
Other than exactly Ace King of Hearts, but
yeah,
still would be weird.
There's one brick backdoor flush draw, and one made front door flush draw.
No, it was spade, spade, diamond, heart, spade.
Okay. I mean, 8-9 would be weird to ever have here. There's a lot of two pairs you could have here. I mean, and there's obviously all the flushes you could have here. I don't know. I think this might be way too loose. I mean, I am a big advocate for overfolding the river. I don't know. I will say this. I wouldn't fault a fold here. I mean, you're not beating when the front door flush gets there and he jams that hard. I mean, I think a queen. I don't think a queen would play it this way. I mean, maybe overplayed two pair. I mean, I'm finding very hard to find made hands that you beat here.
Yeah, I ended up showing the 5 and folding. And he said good fold, but I mean that doesn't mean anything, right?
I mean, I don't know. It's a real sticky situation because you're not. I can't find any value hands you're beating there. I mean, could it be an overplayed queen jack maybe? I mean,
maybe.
Or I guess it could be like aces or kings, and thinking that aces and 5s beats queen jack or queen 10 or jack 10.
Yeah. Well, so I ended up folding though. So what do you think about that? What do you think? You're kind of still torn on it?
I don't hate the fold. I mean, my reasons for calling would be your hand is super underrepresented here, so he could be betting, thinking that he has like a better two, like the top two pair. But I mean, with the flush getting there is two pair. I mean, a flush seems very in your range of hands you could have.
True, but here's the one thing we can agree on: that hand was misplayed on the turn, right? I mean, for sure.
Yeah, 100% on the turn. You have to. Well, I mean, you might have saved money, but I mean, you definitely have to go ahead and probably either get it all in or a sizable raise.
Yeah. So, but here's the saving grace, kinda, I guess, on it is the like 2 hands later, I have ace 7 of clubs, and the flop. It's me and the same guy again. Heads up. The flop comes 7 deuce deuce rainbow.
Oh, nice.
And he bets pretty big again about pot. So I mean, it'd be like $30, $35, right?
Okay. I
call. The turn brings a jack. He bets like 80, I believe. I called. And then the river brought a queen. And I believe he checked it through. And then he was like, he had no pair. And I was good. Okay. And he was visually frustrated. No, he did bet the river. Because I remember thinking, like, he's not going to bluff me back-to-back hands.
Yeah.
So he bet like 250 on the river, I think.
Okay.
And I called it. And he was visually frustrated, I think. Maybe that I folded the 5 and then Hero called down with the 7.
Yeah, I could see that. That's very well played hand though.
Yeah, I mean it worked out pretty good for me, but I ended up and then this one was interesting. I mean, I kept missing some flops, but I had pocket 8s. and a short stack raised. But he raised pretty big to like, I think it was $50.
How much did you have behind?
Only like 180.
Okay.
And it folded to me. And I was because I've been pretty card dead and been missing. So I ended up folding. Somebody else made the call a deeper stack. And I think if he would have called, I would have probably called behind because he covered me.
Okay, yeah.
The flop came Queen 8-3. And I was like, oh man, this was my flop, is what I was thinking, right?
Right.
I mean,
You're thinking someone has ace queen and, you just murder this right here.
exactly. So the guy jams his 180, and I was just like, ugh, this was me. And then the other guy folds, and the guy who jammed his 180 showed pocket queens.
Oh, wow. What a savior.
Right?
Well, I like your fold on the flop, though, because, pocket eights...
Well, I didn't pre-flop.
Oh, yeah, fold on the pre-flop. Because, pocket eights, you really don't have the odds to set mine. And then, if you call, you're really... All his overpairs, you're drawing super thin, too, as, well, you found out very quickly there, even if you hit a set. And then, everything, all overcards is really not profitable. It's just 50-50. And really, for the most part, the overcards are easier to play on a missed flop. So I like your fold pre-flop. Very good, very disciplined as far as a laydown pre-flop.
Yeah, well, so then after that night, I ended up being down on the session. I don't know if I even went all in or not at the end. I kind of been trying to break that habit a little bit. Yeah, I think I ended up just leaving with 0 again, but
Oh.
yeah, I think I got King Jack in versus King Queen, so that's about as profitable as, So
Well, let me ease your pain here for a sec.
Go ahead, I'd love to hear.
So, you ever sit down and you're like, this is gonna be my session?
Yep. Okay.
So, 3 hands into it, I have pocket queens. Just sat down. I'm like, okay, I bet it's a call and all that. Then a very dry flop. No ace, no king. As good a flop as I could hope for with pocket queens. I bet. Opponent re-raises on the flop. Me and you, over and over again, just say that you just need to overfold here. Probably you need to fold everything that's less than the nuts, because people don't make this move. I call.
Yep.
So, I'm suspicious, but I'm like, folding queens here. I think jacks and tens were overpairs. So I'm like, and there was a jack on the flop, because I remember thinking, he could maybe have ace jack, maybe. Thinking I'm just c-betting. Doing everything in my mind to justify.
Right.
A nothing card on the turn. I check it. He bets again. I still have an overpair. I call. The river's a queen. Giving me the just stone cold nuts. At this point, I'm scared he's just gonna check it somehow. I don't know what he could have, but he's gonna just check it down. I just jam it all in, which is 125 into a very big pot now.
Right.
It's probably a third or fourth pot size bet. He snap calls. He had aces the entire way, and I 2-outed him on the river.
Oh man.
You want to talk about just feeling like it's your night.
I was about to say, talk about well played.
Yeah, well played. I felt it coming.
Yeah.
I have another big hand, and we're talking about 30 minutes in the session. I think I'm in for 300. I have like 1,000 in front of me.
Do you play better or worse whenever you have more money in front of you? Like whenever it's winnings?
way earlier in my poker career, it was way worse because I was so scared of everything. Actually, maybe it was better then because after this story, you're gonna think that was it would have been way better. I don't know. I think like because I've been winning and like I'm if you're just kind of struggling and you kind of get on tilt or whatever, I'll probably play a little bit better when I have when more money in front of me. But I think that might be just because my mind at that point is it's more clear. It's easier to make like good folds and good calls when you're playing feel like you're running well.
That's a good point.
I mean, I'm not gonna say I play better when I'm on tilt. I mean, definitely don't think that's the winning deal. So, I mean, this is just a night just going swimmingly. I have pocket fours. I raise pre-flop. There's a call. It comes 8-8-3. I'm like, heads up.
Right, this is perfect. This is a great flop, yeah.
I bet he calls. On the turn, I bet he calls, and then a river I check, he raises, and I'm like, I mean, did he just randomly hit a 10 or something like that? I think that was a river card. And not wanting to believe he just flopped at 8 the entire time, I call, and he just had an 8 the entire time. And you can talk about giving max value with an under pair. I mean, just 100%. Like, I mean, he's not a player that's shown many bluffs. I don't know why. I thought he was just randomly just choosing at that moment on a no semi-bluff board. I mean, I told him, I was like, I don't even know what bluffs you have there. No flush draws. There's no straight draws. I don't know what you could have there or why I'm calling there.
That is a light call.
I mean, it's a super light call. I mean, there's no justification whatsoever for it. I was just like, it was super dry. I was like, I mean, what are the chances? I mean, I don't know. The chances are very good when they call you down and then bet the river.
I think it's overplayed 10 high or jack high.
I mean, that's exactly what I felt like I might have been going for. I mean, just some hands you lose your fucking mind.
Yeah, or just goes off the wheel. Like I always, it just goes like the wheels just fall off and you just roll down the hill. And it seems like.
The scary thing is, compared to this next hand, I played that like Phil Ivey. So I have. We're playing Pot Limit Omaha. It's a reverse button.
Okay.
I flop the Stone Cold Nuts with a set of nines. I mean, you never feel great when it's a set. I'm sorry, it was a set of jacks on there. Set of nines. That killed me earlier. That's killed me too at Pot Limit Omaha. So I flop a set of jacks. I bet there's only one call. It was not the nuts. 9-10 was the nuts. There was a possible straight out there. But with such a wet board, once I went in early position bet and it doesn't get raised, I feel pretty confident my jacks are the effective nuts here.
Okay.
The turn brings nothing. There's a flush draw. I bet again pretty big. He just only calls.
So, I mean, whenever he doesn't raise you ever, you can kind of take that straight out of his range, right?
I mean, I don't know if everybody you can do that, but I mean, just not many people are going to slow play, the nuts on wet boards in Omaha. So I kind of had taken it out of his range.
Okay, I would agree with that.
So he could only be on a flush draw.
Gotcha. So I'm sure it's just pumping through your head right now.
Yeah. The flush hits. I check it. He bets. I somehow don't realize the flush hits. And just call. I mean, the pot was. I mean, you want to talk about just dipshit. I mean, I was like, because I called and like another player who's pretty decent. He's like, well, that's the nuts. That's going to be the nuts. And I was like, well, 9-10. Doesn't make sense here. And then he shows over the ace high flush with the nuts, which obviously is what the guy meant. I mean, it's literally the only hand he could ever have in this situation. And I'm like, and I mean, you want to talk about, like, it's one thing if you play, like, well and you're like, and you just get unlucky. That shit happens in poker. I mean, you know, that's variance. This is not variance. This is mental retardation.
I just imagine he turned over the flush and you're just like, gasp.
Yeah, how could you?
Yeah.
I mean, well, in all honesty, I did bitch about it a little bit. I was like, how? Because I bet a gigantic on that turn and didn't have that much behind to make it worth it. But I mean, I guess if I'm fucking just gonna call it off every time, I guess you could do all kinds of weird stuff because you got insane implied odds against me. So yeah, I just completely, like, it's never good on a session where every hand you win, you get lucky as hell, and every hand you lose, completely your fault. Nobody really sucked out. I mean, you just lose your mind.
Right. So since you and I have been studying PLO together, I figured I'd go play some PLO as well. So I actually went to Paramount, and they have the reverse button too. And I was like, well, you know, I was kind of actually in the PLO mood, you know, just because I've been at 88 and they don't do any PLO. And I was like, well, you know, I could go play some PLO and maybe do okay, right? So I was kind of thinking, because we have been kind of talking some different strategies. I mean, based on that story, I should not have gone to play PLO after talking strategy with you.
Good call.
But I'm trying to think. So I ended up first playing some. I mean, I paid off some guy who had showed two bluffs right when I sat down, right? And then I flopped top pair, and he bets. It was pretty big. It was like $45, which was just about pot in a 1-2 game.
Okay.
Turn is an overcard to my top pair. He bets the same bet, 45.
Wait, this is not PLO, right?
No, this is not.
Okay, I was like, top pair. Don't be going down with this. Okay, so you have top pair, and he double barrels into you.
Yeah. So he bets the same bet, and I was like, well, I mean, super suspicious that. I mean, I don't know, that he just randomly hit this card.
Yeah.
And then the river brought a king, and he bets 45 again. And I was like, well, after him showing two bluffs back to back like that, I feel like maybe I can make a light call here.
Well, especially, I think 45 would be very small into the spot, right?
Very, very small.
Yeah, I mean, you had top pair and then two overcards hit back to back.
Yes. I had ace 10, flop came 10 high. The turn was a queen, the river was a jack. He had queen jack.
Any draws on the flop?
I thought there was a flush draw.
And it bricked?
Yes.
I don't know. Like this tiny, tiny bet, I'm probably calling.
Me too, but then you and I talk about how you can just get so much value from people and you bet that small because they just won't fold, and then I'm the guy not folding next week. I mean, seems weird.
I mean, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's definitely... But I don't know. I mean, when... That's tough. Because, I mean, the king doesn't make a lot of sense here. I mean, the only thing that, like you said, would make sense here is a jack. Because, I mean, do we think he just was betting randomly with a king the entire way down? Unless it was the king-high flush draw. I guess a jack would make sense. When you turn, obviously you turn a bigger pair, and then you could also go for value on the river. But, I don't know. On such a small bet, with you having top pair... I don't know. I mean, I would be suspicious too, especially if there's a draw out there.
Yeah, and then I had this one hand where I had I had a a PLO hand where I had 9, 10, Jack, Queen, and the flop came Queen 10.
Okay.
So I felt like I had just all the out, right?
Kind of a dangerous hand. Because, I mean, you flop 2 pair. Problem is, you're going kind of for the sucker end of the straight. Unless you hit the 8. Wait. Jack 9. So, Queen 10. So, unless you hit the 8, you're kind of on the sucker end of the straight.
Yes. I didn't hit anything.
Okay.
And then I was betting pretty big on that flop too, right? I mean,
Queen 10. Well, what was the other card?
like a 5.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, your Queen 10 is definitely good at this moment.
I bricked the turn. It was an ace.
Oh God, that's a horrible card.
Yep. And then bricked the river. And then I was like, I don't know, man. I was like,
did you check the turn?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good check.
Oh, here's where the hand. I mean, this is the part you're not gonna like. And then I bet like on the river. I bet like 1/3 pot or maybe 2/3 pot. Pretty small bet into the pot. It was like $65.
Oh God, yeah. You're
Told you.
right. I do not like this. I mean, because this is the essence of this is never a bluff, and this is never for value.
This is bad PLO right here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. When we talk about edges and PLO, it's bets like yours and me calling stupid calls on the river that make PLO maybe profitable. But yeah, no, I don't really care for this because I mean, this is you really don't need to bluff here because you do have some showdown value, and you definitely don't need to go for value here whatsoever.
Well, I get told, well, I'll just pay you off. I was like, uh-oh. He had ace 10, so that was...
Oh, for the 2 pair, yeah.
Yeah, better 2 pair.
Because, I mean, he's thinking he's probably, like I say, a small bet. If it was pot size, he might actually fold, because this looks like King Jack.
Probably, but like I said, there's bad PLO right there. So I don't know why I thought going to do this would be what would get me out of my downswing, but I'll tell you what, not really. And then I also had a different hand where I had pocket queens and ace deuce suited in PLO. And the flop is a paired board, but I had not the nut flush draw, but the ace high flush draw.
Okay.
The turn brings a 10 of hearts, which gives me the flush. But I mean, no, it was like 5-5 deuce.
5-5 deuce. Okay.
And then the turn was a 10, and I bet, and then it got raised. And then I called. He didn't raise gigantic. He didn't like pot or anything, but he raised. I called. The turn, I mean, at that point was a nothing card. And then he bets like 2/3 pot. I call, and then he had I mean, can you guess what he had?
No, not really. Oh, do you have 5?
Pocket 10s.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I felt like my whole big leak in PLO was I was just maybe not. I was overvaluing my hands and under respecting the opponent's hands, kind of like thinking that, that they could be overplaying them.
Well, I mean, PLO, I mean, especially at this level, at the low limit levels, I mean, you just assume they got it. I mean, there's very few people that are turning things into bluffs at that point. I mean, it's not like Hold'em where, they're like, I can represent this or all that. I mean, I think in higher stakes PLO that happens. In lower stakes, I mean, you basically, if they bet, you just kind of give them credit for what they're representing. But yeah, I mean, that being said, I'm not playing that much PLO. I was playing online, but it's kind of hit and miss. I was looking through a forum, and it's so hard to find. There's so much variance in PLO, it's hard to find if you're going to be profitable until a long time, it seems like. And considering, even with my shitty play sometimes, I do have, a 3-year history of, making pretty decent money playing Hold'em. I don't know. It seems like it probably more profitable to stick to Hold'em for the time being. And I am trying to learn high-low a lot better, because, again, that's less variance in Hold'em. So, I feel like that could be, although it's not near as popular as PLO.
That's true. I mean, there are just some gigantic PLO games going just all the time, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the draws to it. But, like I say, I mean, I haven't seen... The problem being is, if you don't know if you're profitable for quite a while, then, I mean, all you're doing at that point is gambling.
I mean, which is exactly what some people are looking for.
Yeah, I mean, it's great for that, too. So, I mean, a ton of action, and again, I will say I think it could be profitable at a certain point, but it's a lot like, tournaments for, I'm sure, people for a while. I mean, there's so much variance that you could make a huge run and not know if you're profitable, and you could have a huge loss and still actually be profitable. You just don't know at that point. So it's kind of been tough to decipher. But, so I don't know. Like, lately I've been kind of sticking to Hold'em, although almost every game I have does have a reverse button. So, luckily, there's a lot of, you can choose from PLO or high-low, which I don't know why in Houston they don't have more often. PLO wrecks games to no end for the reverse button. The high-low, where you chop the pot, is way easier on these games to not break the game. I don't know why the PLO is such a big thing versus that.
I feel like it's because maybe not everyone knows how to play high-low.
That's probably true.
I mean, I wouldn't know how to play high-low. I know you've told me, the good hands like ace deuce and stuff and all that, but I feel like if, not many people are playing it, it'd be pretty hard to bring it into the game.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, because I've suggested it. Like, I was at Paramount and I suggested it, but they nixed that right from the start.
They laugh you out the room.
Yeah, I mean, but like I say, from a room standpoint, it would be much better because, I mean, if the scoops only happen so often, and then that way, it's two people chopping the pot, it's spreading the money around, and it's less likely to break the game. So that's why I started choosing it in the first place is, when College Station, if you break the game, it's not like Houston where you just go to another room or there's another table there. I mean, at this point when College Station, if you broke the game, it was just over. So I was like, there's no reason to choose PLO and have one person win a $1,500 pot and then the game's done.
And everyone just go home.
Let me get your thoughts on this, though. So I've been going through a downswing, and I was thinking about something on the way over here.
I was about to say, we got to bring more to the table, because this podcast has just been me and you talking about how bad we are in PLO. So,
yeah, no kidding.
So go for it.
Well, this is straight Hold'em here. So been on a little bit of a downswing. I was on a gigantic upswing off the Vegas trip, and then a little while after that. But I was listening to things right now, and I kind of, not just due to the downswing, but due to some life circumstances, the bankroll went down a little bit. And I've been buying in for like 300 or 400, not like the 500. So, problem is a standard raise in a Hold'em game in Texas is about 15. So, at 15... you really should never have suited connectors in your range.
If you're buying in for 400.
You have 300 to 400.
Yeah.
I mean, the rule is usually for suited connectors is 25 times whatever that raise size is. 10 would be 250, so I mean, 15's way out there. So at that point, do you just play super tight to the point where your eyes bleed? I usually don't have queen jack in my range, but should I start adding like queen jack, jack 10, and stuff like that versus a suited connector. Because, I mean, at least you're going to hit top pair and, be there. I mean, suited connectors, you can't justify at all. And I guess, I mean, the most profitable would be just to play your big pairs and your super big cards. But, I mean, at that point in Texas, you're now playing 9% of hands.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if... I mean, one theory would be you would need to play like the suited connectors just because people wouldn't give you action, but you're not going to have that problem here at all. You can literally just sit there and wait for aces, kings, queens, and bet 75, 50 pre-flop and get all the calls. And everyone, you're going to turn over aces thing and be like, did not see that coming. I mean, this guy has played one hand in 4 hours.
I mean, I tell you what, I better be playing at someplace with a big screen TV because that's going to get so old so fast. Yeah, I was thinking about that, but yeah, I mean, if you're playing 6-7 suited and the standard raise is open to 15. Now, I'm not saying don't pre-flop. Well, I will say this. I probably should not be pre-flop raising over a limp with this either, actually. But an open raise for a suited connector I think is fine. But calling seems to be, that's probably should just completely have that out of my range until I'm buying in for more again.
I mean, you'd have to buy in pretty deep, right? To justify it mathematically. I mean,
okay, so let's go ahead and do the math for a second. So you need 25 times 15. So you're looking at 10 would be 250. So you need about 325 is what I'm getting.
Believe so.
375.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess if you get deeper stacked a little bit and you're winning and you're up if I'm up a bit, I can go ahead and start adding that back into my range. But I mean, if I'm around 300 or if I'm around, or if I've gone down a little bit, you really need to start adjusting. Like maybe throw Queen Jack out there to play and drop some of the suited connectors.
Well, here's the other thing too: is you need your opponent to be that deep as well.
Yeah.
Or are you often the shallow stack, which doesn't seem right?
It's very dependent. I mean, the places I play at are it's very dependent on the table, but a lot of times it does play pretty deep. So, but you would have to worry about. I mean, there's always that one guy at the table with 100 or 150. So you definitely can't be calling him, even if you're sitting 1,000 deep.
Right, which I thought, kind of something you have to consider as well.
Yeah, so I was kind of looking at that, and it was we had talked about adjusting the range when you were only 100 big blinds over in Vegas, but now that I'm starting, like I say, kind of building back, the bankroll hasn't taken a big hit, but it's enough that, like I say, 300 or 400 is all I feel comfortable with at this exact moment. So we're kind of, let's say, I haven't really adjusted my ranges from there, and that I think that could be part of the leak that I'm finding.
Have you adjusted your ranges online buying in for however much you buy in for, or do you buy in pretty deep online?
No, it's still like 100 blinds.
So are you folding suited connectors online?
Probably not. I don't. That's a good question. I don't think I have. Well, you know what? I fold a lot more online just because I respect people's raises. I mean, like, here, I mean, there's so much garbage that gets thrown around that I will call probably way too light sometimes. Online, if they're raising from early position, I'm folding almost everything, actually.
Yeah, that's probably a good rule of thumb because, I mean, how easy it is to multi-table, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that, and I mean, like, Poker Bros is great because it just shows rock under their name. If a rock raises, I mean, I have like 4 hands that I will call a re-raise with. So it's a so I probably do need to look at it online as well as live. But I was listening to that and kind of looking for kind of leaks in my game, and I will say I think I've gotten a little too loose pre-flop with my calling range and need to tighten up. I mean, I guess either play super tight or add some hands that, you know, have at least some top pair value. Because, I mean, if you're only $200, even if you hit, I mean, you're going to use your whole stack chasing that draw and have not that many implied odds left behind.
True, absolutely.
So that's a little thought that I was thinking about when in our on the way over here.
I guess though, I mean, on that note, I mean, I would say for me at least, it's kind of officially a full blown downswing going on for me.
No, it isn't.
What
is it?
I mean, this week it is. I mean, hopefully next week, you know, end up coming back or try to play a little bit more.
That's a good point. Yeah, you've really.
Well, I mean, because like you'll say like it's not that much of a downswing, but I mean, looking at 1, 2, 3, I mean, 4 losing sessions in a row with multiple buy-ins on the session. I mean,
okay, yeah, that's probably a downswing. Yeah, that's
definitely not what you're hoping for.
Yeah, it's definitely not the goal. It's not the tree.
I mean, just to make no money 4 times in a row on multiple bullets. I mean, or 4 sessions on multiple bullets. I mean, that's
okay. Yeah, that's not living it up by any means. I will say that.
So yeah, I guess hopefully next week. I'm definitely going to try to make an effort to go play next week. So and I'm actually off Friday, so I'm going to go try to play that Friday game. So I guess you're still currently on downswing or not? Not really.
Oh God.
Yeah. Okay.
It's never ending, dude. I'm gonna stop reading strategy books and start reading rule books if it gets any worse. So yeah, I would say yeah. Right now it's like I say, it's not that bad. I'm probably like even from what I started from the Vegas trip, but I mean when you go up, your dream is to never go right back to where you were.
Yeah, so I guess this will conclude episode 27. We'll see you next week trying to break out of this downswing. All right, we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
That was the Texas Poker Podcast. Go ahead and rack up, add time, and we'll see you next week.